Hey guys, so Thief's out. That's the main point of this video. I figured since my channel was based off of Thief from the beginning, and it's one of my favorite series, is that I should do some sort of first impressions video, because some people have been curious about my opinions on the game before it came out, and so I just thought I'd share what I think about it after it came out. Now, I haven't beaten it, but I've played 3 or 4 hours into it, so I feel like I'm justified in some of the opinions I'm going to be giving. So you've probably been hearing a lot of opinions about this game, mostly negative, I would venture to guess, because those are the people that voice their opinions the most. They're gonna be saying things like it's not as good as the original Thief games, not on the same level, it's dumbed down for the console gamers and all that stuff. The same stuff you heard with Deadly Shadows, but I mean, I'll get to that later. But yeah, so I have my own opinions about it. I'll start out with the good things. Graphics, generally, in this game are great. It looks fantastic, both technically and through the design of the graphics. It's very Thiefy. Like, they definitely did Thief justice. It looks like a Thief game. I'm reminded of the old games constantly, and they added things to it that make it look really good. So I'm very impressed with that aspect of it. And the ambience, the sound design is quite good. Compared to the old games, I would actually say it's better, because there's more you can do with it. But it's very well done. But that's the issue. There's a but. I mean, those are the good things. One other surprising good thing, I forgot to mention this. The voice actor is actually quite good, in my opinion. I mean, some people are going to be like, oh, it's not Stephen Russell, it's not going to be good, but I actually like him quite a bit, and I think he does Stephen Russell justice. Given that they aren't using Stephen Russell, he's probably the second best, I'd say. So he's good. Anyway, the bad things. The level design. It's probably the worst out of everything. The level design is so bad, and that's what sucks, because the original Thief had such amazing level design. That's what made it so good. There's a picture I saw, I don't know if I'll put it in the video, but it's like, on one side you've got an overhead of the Thief 2 level, the one with the ship, where you're like, at like a harbor type thing, and you're trying to get into a ship, and it's like, it's this big rectangle, which I mean, oh, it's so simplistic, but no, you look inside it, and there's like, rooms everywhere, guards patrolling everywhere, different ways to go. It's like this big area. It's huge. And so, like, you've just got to find your path around this place, and you don't know if you're going to do it the way the developers intended, or find your own way, or what. But then, on the other side, there's the first mission of Thief 4, which is, like, go up here, over here, maybe a little side quest over here, but it's like in the way, so might as well do it, right? And you keep going, and then oh, loading screen, keep going, and oh, there's the end, and there's like no side routes. That's it. That's the whole level. And this is meant to be a Thief-like level, and it's honestly insulting. Like, it's so easy and straightforward and linear, and there's no thinking involved. You might as well be watching a cutscene. You just go through and press buttons to make you go forward. You hardly ever go back. It's like, whereas in the other Thief games, you're constantly looking around trying to figure out where you're supposed to go, which is part of the fun, because you're going in blind. I mean, it's just so disappointing. A comparison I made earlier to one of my friends is with the Half-Life series. And I mean, people will look at the original Half-Life and say it's a masterpiece, and people will look at the new Half-Life, the Half-Life 2, and say it's a masterpiece. But you look at the original Half-Life, you've got very small maps, lots of loading screens, but they're short, and you're going back and forth between them all the time. You're spending a lot of time in one area trying to figure out where you're supposed to go, and then going from there onto the next area. Whereas in Half-Life 2, I find it's almost entirely linear. And I mean, it's a great game, but it doesn't change the fact that it's almost entirely linear. Most AAA games these days are really linear. Another comparison, Deus Ex. In fact, Deus Ex Human Revolution was developed by the same people who did Thief 4. Which I'm going to call it Thief 4 because it's Thief 4. Developed by the same people. So I figured it would have similar level design. I mean, you look at the original Deus Ex, which I haven't played, but I've heard it's very open. Like Thief, trying to figure out where you're supposed to go and all that. But I've played Human Revolution. I love the game. And I looked at it saying, this is what I want the next Thief to be like. It has fantastic level design. While still being slightly linear, you can choose your path on many different areas. And it's really, it was just a lot of fun to try and figure all that out. It reminded me of the old Thief games. And so I was like, this is what I want Thief to be like. And then I get Thief and... completely linear, as I've seen so far. I mean, I recently played for about an hour. Just sat down and, like, messed around in the city, just to see what would happen. And there's an element of open world to the city, sure. You can roam around the city, do side missions and stuff, stealing certain things for people, finding side quests. But that's not what Thief's about. I mean, I always thought that sounded kind of cool, but I like to have the side quests and all that. But it's really, like, it's not. Because most of the side quests end up being the same thing. Just going to a place, stealing something, coming back. It's like there's no variation. It's like Skyrim. Every side quest is exactly the same. And sure, you can roam the city as much as you want, but it's cramped. It doesn't feel open world. Like, it's like you're following a path. Or there's a crap ton of paths, and none of them lead anywhere important. So, I mean, it's really frustrating. I pre-ordered the game, so I got the bank heist mission, and I played that real quick. Because I had played a bunch of the other ones, and they were all very linear. And that was the best of all the missions, and so it's kind of disappointing that that was one included in pre-order only. But, I mean, it's like a classic Thief setup. While it's a very small mission, you're put at the front of a building, and you find a way in, you find your way around the building, and it's like, you've got to figure it out for yourself. Whereas in most of the story missions, you're stuck just going in one direction. It's not like trying to figure out where you're supposed to go. Which is what Thief's all about. Again, it's very frustrating to be playing that. I don't know. Let's see. I spent a long time talking about level design, but that's like one of the biggest issues with the game. Now again, I haven't beaten it, so it might get better, but for right now it's kind of shitty. Story, I guess. Before I get into the main story, so far, no mention of Hammerites, no mention of Keepers, no mention of Pagans, no mention of any undead, anything like that. The most supernatural thing I've seen so far is at the very beginning, there's like these people that Garrett calls robes, and I'm not sure if they're supposed to be keepers. But they're like performing some incantation, and this is what causes one of your allies to die or something like that. And I mean, that would have been great if like they were enemies or something like that. But from what I've heard, there are two enemies in the game. There is a swordsman and a bowman. That's it. Those two enemies. So apparently you don't even get to fight zombies, which I saw in the trailer. And there's no Hammerites, there's no Pagans, there's no Keepers. Like, holy crap, that's so disappointing. Like, one of the images I had in my head for Thief 4 that was just going to be spectacular was an image of a cathedral where you're going into this huge-ass cathedral, and there's like a ceremony in progress or something like that, and I was like, oh sweet, we're gonna have this great new engine that's gonna be able to handle like a whole bunch of things, like dynamic things going on, a whole bunch of people walking around while there's a ceremony or something, and you're gonna have to steal things while this is happening. I was like, dude, this is gonna be so cool. There's not even Hammerites in the game. Like, the coolest part of Thief for me was the mythos behind it. Like, all of the stories and like the little the little characters and factions that, like, that was just what made the game for me. But you take all that out and it's just not the same game. It feels like Dishonored. And I mean, that's the funny part. People are actually saying Dishonored's better, and I was disappointed with Dishonored. But I think Dishonored's better at this point in terms of level design. I mean, it's probably right on target with the graphics design and all that, but I mean, even story is like, it's about the same. So anyway, the main story, it's generic. Like, you've of course there's like one of those stupid, like, I'm going crazy, so I'm gonna have a weird dream sequence scene where you're like walking through this like trippy area. Like one of the people you've taken under your wing dies at the beginning, and so you feel guilty about that or something, and then you get some new ability because of that. And so the city's going to hell, and so you're trying to overthrow the person. So it's a lot like Dishonored. Not to say they ripped off Dishonored, because Dishonored was paying homage to Thief, but still, it's like, give me some more. Give me some Hammerites, please. This is Thief. Thief is not Thief without Hammerites, or Pagans, or Keepers. Like, the entire story of the third one was based around Keepers. Like, I don't know. I'm just baffled by it. No Burricks. There's a place called the Burrick or something. I forgot what it's called. It's like a tavern or something called the Burrick or something like that. And they're like, hey, want to go to the Burrick later? Oh yeah, that sounds great. I'm like, you don't have the right to call it a Burrick if there aren't Burricks in the game. Like, holy shit. Put them in. So yeah, frustration. That's probably the word I would, like, I'm not mad. I'm not sad. I'm frustrated and disappointed. Because this game could have been so much better. It had so much potential. It was developed by the studio that made Deus Ex Human Revolution, which is probably one of my favorite games of all time. But so far, it is subpar. Even looking at it as its own game, not comparing it, it's boring and frustrating and just So, that's my first impression of Thief. There you have it. I will probably upload a full review of it when I beat it, just to give final impressions, but to be honest, I think I've covered pretty much everything about the game, and so I probably won't be saying too much differently, unless something crazy happens and for some reason everything is redeemed, but I really doubt that. As a side note, the thing I want to see happen is to recreate the original Thief games, maybe just Thief 1, but Thief 2 as well would also work, in this engine. Like, that would be cool as shit. But the issue is, I don't know if the engine would be able to handle it. That's the thing. Like, the engine, I think the reason it has such small levels is because the engine has issues, like being able to render all of it. But, I mean, if it were possible, that would be cool as shit. I would love to see that happen. I would play it over and over again. That would be great. But, yeah. So go do that. And I'll be happy. So yeah, there you have it. Thank you guys for watching, and I will see you all in the review.